So now that I've done some purchase orders for this job, theoretically I've bought all the material for this job. So if I'm the project manager, I want to take that Kanban card, I want to move it into scheduling. So anything sitting in scheduling is the indicator to Mark, the plant manager, that we are waiting to receive it before we can begin production. Down the road, one of the things that Mark and the plant and I will be working on, I'd like to see us as an entire company work on it, is something called full kitting, which is the idea that we don't begin production until we have everything in-house. And in order to ensure that we have everything in-house, we will pre-pull it for production. Part of that will be working with the WinStore, but someone will also pull the hardware, the custom hardware per project. And essentially what we don't want to do is we don't want to start building cabinets before we have the handles or the hinges or something like that. We don't want to start cutting lists before we have all of the material. I do understand that sometimes it's absolutely required, but we try to avoid it at all costs because it makes us less efficient. So anyways, sitting in scheduling, it is now ready to get material received. So Mark, he functions in the kiosk most of the time. So it brings us right here, and I'm going to click on receiving. Now, what I'm looking for is the purchase order that we're waiting to receive from Charter that was specific to that project. So in order to help me out, because I can't remember what I just did, I'm going to go look at our purchase orders, and I actually just deleted that purchase order. But for instance, let's look at this Bear Supply. So this was ordered on January 15th. I'm going to open that purchase order, and it is supposed to be due here on, I'm going to go look. I do not see it. Let's look at the PDF. It is due on, I can't tell you when it's due on. So that needs to be something that we look at. Here it is. So things that are due on January 16th. So I'm in the kiosk. I'm looking at January 16th. There it is. There's the PO. So I'm going to click on it. And Mark, when he gets that PO, he can start hitting receive all. Hopefully this is easier for Mark because in the kiosk, when he clicks on receiving, it says PO 100-122, and that should be on the customer or the vendor's paperwork when they deliver it. So if anything, he does that. He can say receive all. He hits it. He receives it all. He can also print the labels that exist for these items. The theory is that when we receive stock items, they go into stock. When we receive job-specific hardware, so let's say this was job-specific, it would get specifically, it would get a label, and it would go on a job-specific hardware or materials shelf or rack. And then when we begin to produce that job, those all go in a bin, and they flow through with the job. Afterwards, they get costed out and then put and stored into our inventory. But let's say he received all the materials, so he hit receive all. I'm not going to do that because it would throw us off. And we're ready to begin production. That PO would then show that all of this material had been received. You'd see a received total cost, and we would have the option to view received items, which Scott and or I use at a later date when we receive the billing for it.